What's up, Zwifters? Welcome back to No Breakaways, your source for all the Zwift racing tips and tricks. We're here to talk about the course in Paris. Why am I not saying the name? Okay, the last time I mentioned one of these French names, my French-Canadian teammate Serge gave me a really hard time about how I said it. He said I'm banned from ever speaking French again. So I asked him to record the name of the course. Anytime I have to say it, I'm going to play his recording on the side. So this week, we're here for the
Les Champs-Elysees.
All right. That is not how I would have said it, but I'm glad that I have someone who actually speaks the language to say it and prevent me from further embarrassment. I hope everybody had fun in the cobbled climbs last week. Really tough course as we thought it would be, but a really fun racing experience. It was definitely fun to watch the other races, and I hope the tips were helpful last week. Let's go ahead and get right into the video. So here's the course. The
Les Champs-Elysees.
A's and B's have 6 laps, 42.8 kilometers, 488 meters of elevation gain, and C's and D's 4 laps, 29.6 kilometers, and 325 meters of elevation gain. I really like the Zwift Hub view this week. It kind of shows the course profile well. You see the one major feature is that hill. There is a little dip that we'll go over, but really it's not that big a deal. We do have one sprint on the course, and it is placed at the top of that kind of low-grade climb. So that's going to make the dynamics of this quite a bit different, and we'll cover that on the course ride. The intermediate points, we have the first across the line. First through 10th get those points, 10 through 1 points. In the fastest through segments, 20 points for first place, second place gets 15, third 10, and then 4th through 10th in descending order. As a note, one person can get multiple fastest through segments. And as you will see here, there are 6 sprint points. So in theory, one person can get 6 of those fastest through segments. In reality, I haven't seen that happen, but I have seen people get 2 or 3 in some previous races. So there are some points to be had in those fastest through if you want to be strategic about it. Now, taking a look at the points, we have the first across the line. This is whoever crosses the line first through 10th. We have 6 times the sprint. For A's and B's, we have 330 available points. C's and D's, 220. And the fastest through segment, same sprint, but we only have 73 total available points. And I expect those to not be as hotly contested as they were in Richmond last week when we had 2 segments where people could go through. But of course, there will be people probably selling out for the fastest through, especially on the first lap. The power-ups this week, we have the Arrow, we have the Draft Fan, and the now infamous Steamroller. We will talk through each of those on the course ride, where to deploy them. The Steamroller may be a game changer again this week because of the length and the power of it. It'll be interesting to see how it actually plays out. As a quick reminder, the Arrow is 15 seconds, and the Steamroller and Draft Fan are both 30 seconds each. All right, here we are coming out of the pens. You're just normal start. You come out, you take a right on the road out there, and you're going to be going on a downhill. This part is the lead-in. There is a fairly long lead-in to this before you start your lap. After you take this right, you'll be able to see a banner on the other side of the road, and that is where your lap actually starts. So the first little feature you're going to get to is this little dip under the bridge. Part of me even hesitates to call it a feature. Really, it's something you can either fade climb if you want to get up front, or like you see me doing here at the back, you just put in a little bit of a dig, not even very much, and you'll just stick with a pack. There is very little chance of you getting dropped or a breakaway happening here. You can see this is a Cat B race. My watts never got above 3.6 watts per kilo. So it's really a momentum thing, and you just get sucked up with the group. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Here we are coming to the start-finish line. The lead-in is 3.2 kilometers. Each lap is 6.8 kilometers. So you do get to the hill pretty quickly after the start-finish line here, and we'll jump to the bottom of the hill. All right, here we go. If you look over there at the Zwift stage, you know, people Zwifting there outside, this is where you start to go up. That's kind of your cue that you see me moving up in the pack a little bit here. You do want to be maybe in the front half of this group because people will start trailing off the back, and you don't want to accidentally get sucked off the pack. If you look at the mini map up there, you already see people getting knocked off. You probably don't need to be quite as high up as I am here, although if you're trying to get first across the line, it's probably not the worst idea in the world. We're going to skip now to where the sprint happens. All right, here we are for the sprint. We're coming up on it. This is almost exactly 30 seconds out from the finish of the sprint. Right here, you see these like little Zwift pavilions over on the side. You can see a light post up there. If you have a steamroller and you want to use it here for a sprint for fastest through or first across, or just to keep up with a pack, it's going to help you a lot on the cobbles. The steamroller on the cobbles for almost the entire course is going to be helpful. For the arrow, you're going to want to deploy that a little bit later, a little bit further up the road, about when you get to the sprint line. The sprint line is at 4.4 kilometers on the first lap, so you're going to want to watch out. You see that little building with the blue awnings? That means you're getting really close, this light post. That means you're super close to the sprint point, but you don't want to deploy it quite yet. Right about here is where you want to drop your arrow and fly through these people to get to that finish line first and get all your points. One thing you do need to watch out for is people coming over the top at the end of the climb after the sprint. That's a team tactic that may make a lot of sense to bust this field up. You see up there in the mini map, there is a little bit of a gap in the field between the front group and the next group. I'm sure they catch on the next lap, but if you really want to push it here, I have seen people push around this little circle here and really get after it, and force some breaks and force some people who are hurting to try to chase back on. Here we are on the downhill. You actually can super tuck on this. You see, I'm trying to coast a little bit. If you hit it hard, you are able to super tuck. Joel Carroll did an awesome video where he broke down this entire course with Brandon Peterson. So I will put a link to that up in the top right now. That is something I would suggest you watch if you want some kind of next level tips. Joel has some stuff about kicking it up a little bit, getting fast enough to be able to super tuck on these 3% downhills. So that is the end of the lap. We just went by the pens. I am going to go back to the finish, and we will talk through that a little bit and some possible strategies. All right, we're coming up on the last half kilometer of the race. You have the sharp left, then a right. From the right-hand turn, you have about 30 seconds, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more depending on what division you're in. So if you have a steamroller, this is the place you pop it to take advantage of that lower CDA on the cobbles. You'll be able to sprint all the way home with that advantage. If you have an arrow, you're probably going to want to pop it a little bit later. This is a really long drag into the finish, so you'd probably want to pop an arrow right around here to get your 15 seconds. It's a really tough finish. It's a long finish. You've got to be careful about going too early, but it's also possible to make a break on this finish. So it's a really interesting course for that. For my total expected times, the only race I was able to find something that really fit this was for the Cat A men and a little bit the Cat B men. So everything else, you'll see very wide ranges. I apologize. I just wasn't able to find anything really. So for the women, the Cat A, I'm expecting 63 to 68 minutes, 3.8 watts per kilogram. You see the watts per kilogram this week for all cats is going to be low. There's a huge downhill. You can get lots of super tuck. It's a draftable climb. So this is a pretty low watts per kilo race. It is going to be hard, don't get me wrong, but the watts per kilo in general are going to be a little bit lower. Cat B 67 to 72, Cat C 48 to 55, and Cat D 53 to 60. For the men, I have the Cat A men 59 to 61 minutes. I was able to kind of tighten up the window on them because there was a Sarah's Pros Closet race recently with a lot of very high-end guys. And so I was able to get a feel for it based on that time. But you see, they were only at like 3.8 watts per kilogram. And this was Premier League men riding around in this for the most part. Cat B 62 to 65. Cat C 45 to 50, and Cat D 48 to 55. Again, for anything other than the Cat A men, these are guesses, and I just want you to have some idea about how long that you're going to be out there suffering on this course. So the feature distances, all we have this week is the sprint, 0.15 kilometers long, and you can see where they're on the laps. I will switch next to the miles version and just give you a second if you want to take a screenshot. The new feature this week, I wanted to talk a little bit about strategies, 3 strategies to potentially maximize your points in this race. The first one I wanted to talk about is maximizing your overall finishing place. This isn't points, this is just How high up can you get in the race? So really what you want to do, you're going to want to draft this entire climb. Save as much energy as possible. Work the downhill, just surf wheels. That's all you're really going to be doing. Now, the trick here is that in these sprints, you're going to want to get in the top half of whatever your group is so that you don't get accidentally tailed off the end. Now, some stuff is going to come back together on the downhills, so you don't have to worry if there's a little bit of a split. But to be safe, I would try to get in the top half of whatever your group is. And then, of course, on the finishing sprint, just like any other Zwift race, you're going to have to work wheels. You're going to have to time everything at the right moment to really maximize your placing. The next strategy I want to talk about is optimizing your total points. So this normally comes with optimizing your finishing position, but also making sure that you're getting as many first across the line points as possible. The fastest through segments normally go to people that are trying to maximize through the fastest through segments and not as worried about overall finish or the first across the line bonuses. So what you need to do is work the second half of the race, either do the even numbered laps, 2, 4, 6, or I would go for laps 3, 4, 5, 6. Really work those first across the line points to try to maximize what you can get there. There are so many points there up for grabs. And if you are trying to maximize your overall points, you're also going to want to burn off any of the sprinters and hope they can't catch back on in the downhill. The third thing I'm going to talk about is kind of like maximizing game theory. And these are for a lot of the fastest through people. So here is what I would do if I just am looking for the fastest through points. There's probably going to be some debate over whether this is sportsmanlike, but ultimately there aren't rules preventing it and somebody else is going to do it. So you want to make sure that you're maximizing your team's points. On lap number 1, you go for the fastest through segment. You're going to have the biggest group here. This is going to be your best chance to set the highest fastest through. But what I do after that segment is I would go ahead and sit up. And I would sit up and I would get a lap down, actually. So you just soft pedal all the way around, let the group go. And then when they come around on their lap 3, so your lap 2, their lap 3, you're going to hop back in and go up that climb with them again. You're going to surf their wheels and you're going to try to get fastest through again. Then you sit up again. So on their laps 1, 3, 5, and then maybe you sit in for the 6th lap and just see what you can do there. You try to get as many fastest through points as you can that way. There was some debate about this last week on Richmond, but ultimately you need to do what you can do to get your team the most points to place as high as you can in your division. Let's talk a little bit about bike choice here. This one's really straightforward. This is an aero course. You can draft this climb. Don't overthink it here. If you have the Venge S-Works with a disc and you're really going for that sprint, ride that. If you want just a little bit of help on the climb without sacrificing much aero, go with the Tron if you have it. And if you're a lower level Zwifter, I would really suggest the Canyon Air Road with DT Swiss, if you have any of the Envy wheels, stuff like that. As always, go over and look at the bike choice that Eric has published as Zwift Insider. He always has some amazing insight in his article as well. All right, that's it, Zwifters. I hope you enjoyed the video for
Les Champs-Elysees.
And I hope this proves useful in your race. Let me know what you thought of the new strategy feature, if you want more of that sort of stuff. And if you like the video, click like and subscribe below. I really appreciate it. I love the comments and feedback that I get from everyone, because what I want to do is make this video as good as possible to serve the community as best we can. We'll see you next week.